I have a JVC KDV300 cassette deck this time that was brought in by a client in unknown condition. So we're going to check this one out and see what is wrong with it. I have a JVC KDV300 cassette deck here that I can hear a motor running. None of the buttons work. It appears to be stuck in record. Got a line in signal going into it if I bring up the levels. But none of the functions work. So I can hear a motor running. So good chance this one's got a bad belt. Let's take a look and see what might be bothering this one. So we'll just remove the screws. You might notice that I've set up my little MP3 board that I got. I'll be using this for my test material now, because I can put my royalty-free content on a USB stick, and then I don't have to worry about dealing with CDs and DAT tapes and everything else. Just have everything I'm going to need to use for testing on my little USB stick. Plug it into that media player, and I'm good to go. Ah, damn, I wasn't recording. Shoot. Okay, I don't know what I got and what I didn't. I thought my camera was on and it wasn't. Anyway, we've got a belt here that's weak, and it's slipping. So I'm going to look for a replacement capstan belt. If I don't have one, I'll try the boiling water trick on it. Now, a lot of these JVCs, it was actually quite easy to take the belts out. You could just remove, I think there's 2 screws, and this whole bracket should just pop off here. Where is it? There's 1 screw up top here. I believe there's another one down below. But a lot of these were quite easy to change the belts on. I just have to find my small micro size Phillips to remove this screw here. And there should be another one down at the bottom underneath the motor that I can loosen off or remove. And that should allow the motor to swing out of the way enough that I can change the belts. Some of these machines were a real pain to change belts on, and this is not one of them. This is one of the easier ones. So we remove the second screw. And now this bracket will move out of the way, and I can slip the belts out of here, because this will pull straight up. I'm gonna have to probably cut a few of these zip ties that are just holding it in place. Remove that one. I should be able to swing the bracket enough out of the way to change the belt. Just slipping it off and around. Okay, gotta go see if I can find a belt this size. Now, I didn't have a new belt for this, so I was able to recondition this one by just using the boiling water trick and boiling it in the microwave for about 15 minutes. This restores the elasticity of the belt and causes it to shrink, which in most cases will fix it. The easiest way to get one of these belts around the pulley is to take a piece of tape and just tape down the corner. And we'll just tape it around the pulley a bit like that. And then we're gonna do that. And now as I rotate the belt, And I'll pull the other side up. As I'm doing this, this will take the belt in around the back side of the pulley. And if we're lucky, it'll come all the way around and we'll get it completely threaded around the pulley. Sometimes you have to do it more than once to get it in, but usually you can get the belt to seat this way. Here we go. I've now got the belt seated, I think, around the pulley. Yes, I have it seated around the pulley as I can turn the belt now. And here's my tape that came around with it. So now I've got the belt around the back side of the pulley. I can bring it over this way. I'm just going to pinch it together to hold it so it doesn't come off. Hold it down like that. Take it underneath here around and loop it around the motor. Like that. Now I can put the bracket back in. Now this is a belt that I boiled this one because I didn't have the exact size. I had some bigger ones, but that doesn't help. If I'd had a smaller one I would have tried it, but I didn't. I had some thicker belts, and well, that sometimes is a problem with capstan with cassette decks. You don't want to go thicker because thicker will generally result in more wow and flutter. So we'll just try boiling the belt. A lot of times that's all it needs because it will shrink the belt slightly. See these belts here, it wasn't that badly stretched, it was more slippery than stretched, and boiling it tends to put a bit of moisture back in the belt and give it a bit more of its elasticity back. It works with certain types of belts. It doesn't work that well with pure rubber belt because pure rubber belt has a tendency to melt, but the synthetic belts, it actually works quite well with. I've done it for years. Hell, I've done it on the channel here and haven't told you guys about it. I've gone and told you guys on some of my own tape decks that I've put a new belt in, and really all I've done is just took it and put it in a cup of water and microwaved it on high for 10 to 15 minutes and then let it dry. But it's a trick I learned probably, I don't know, at least 25 years ago. It sometimes gets you out of a bind. I actually learned that trick, no, it was more than 25 years ago, it was probably 30 years ago. I learned that trick from an engineer at the broadcast station. I was working at the community station. If there was a cart machine or something that a belt was slipping on and he didn't have one, he'd take the belt out and throw it in a coffee mug and throw it in the microwave for 15 or 20 minutes or whatever. There weren't real powerful microwaves back then, so he'd cook it for a while and then put it back in, and it would keep us going to get on the air, so that we could go and do our production for the day, because a lot of our public service announcements, they were all on the carts, right? So I learned that trick years and years ago and just kind of filed that one away and used it a bit over my career. Okay, let's see whether this thing's gonna do anything other than nothing like it was doing before. Audio out and audio in. We'll do a full test on this thing. Okay, power on. And oh yeah, it has plenty of torque. Plenty of torque. Can almost stall the motor out with the torque. Let's try playing a tape. that is working. Direction, reverse. I'm hearing a bit of noise coming from, I think it's that one. Yeah, it's this one here. Just going to put a drop of oil onto the shaft of that bearing. See if that'll quieten that down a bit. See that? Oh, it's this one right here. It's a slip clutch. I can hear the tape take up little slip clutches making some noise. You can hear it. Hear that, or it's a cassette. Could be the cassette. Try that without a tape in it. Okay, now it's quiet, you see. Oh, you know what? It's the bloody cassette. It sounds like the cassette is squeaking. Let's put it the other way. Yeah, it was the tape. The cassette was squeaking. I was wondering, what the heck was that all that noise coming from? It was actually the cassette itself. Oops. There's the reverse direction now, you see. It's the hub in the cassette. Interesting, okay. That was weird. Rewind. So I'll make a recording here. I'm just going to reset my tape counter. And I've got some music already playing on the little MP3 player that's plugged into it. So if I pause this, we'll set our levels up here. They can put it in Dolby C for that matter. Pause. Next track. I'll find something here to play. Good enough. We'll play track number 26. So I'm going to hit the button here. Record this track. This little thing is great for testing. We'll see how this sounds on playback. Okay, it's finished recording this track, and I'm going to stop it now. Rewind the tape back to the 0 point on the counter, and we'll just take a listen to how this sounds. Now you guys probably noticed I'm using this little MP3 player that I demoed the other day. It's not going to stay looking like this forever. Once I can get myself a suitable case, I will be mounting this in a case so I can use it as my my test device for playing music into tape decks and stuff under test. Because that way I can use my Music Bakery content for testing. Nice thing I like about this is that I can recall the track directly, right? It has a display on it, whereas other MP3 players that I've demoed in the past, of course, work better with Bluetooth. You can plug a memory card into some of them, but they don't have a digital display, and that, to me, makes a big difference because you can dial in whatever track you want to play, right? So that, to me, is important. So that one is going to go into a little plastic box when I find something suitable to put it in, probably this weekend. Let's take a listen now to the playback of this recording. Okay, here's where we kicked it in here. probably noticed I picked a track that has piano in here so we can hear wow and flutter, and this is sounding very good. I'm quite impressed with the sound of this unit. Sounds good to me. Sounds excellent. Let's take a look at the heads on this. I didn't even look at them to see whether they needed to be cleaned or anything at this point. But yeah, they don't look to be too bad, but of course they can always use a cleaning, so let's do that. Take the front, the cover comes off this. Makes it a little easier to get in here and clean them. Heads really weren't dirty, but it never hurts to clean them. The caps and shafts definitely need to be cleaned. Yeah, a little bit of dirt on the caps and shafts. So that's got that taken care of. There's play. We'll check reverse scan. Yeah, it automatically starts. Forward scan works. We'll go back and get that song again. Whoops. Play, reverse scan. There you go. So that works. Auto reverse mode, single direction, auto reverse, and continual play. There's your 3 directions there. Tape counter reset. It's got normal, high bias, and metal tape, Dolby noise reduction, Dolby B and C, record mute button, all the standard stuff, standard mic inputs on the front, and headphone plug on the front. Nice little unit. You know, the guy that owns this, I think, will be happy with it, and even though I didn't actually order in a belt and change it, I think that this one will probably be good for quite a while because it wasn't in bad shape. You know, you can generally tell when you look at these belts, if they're just kind of stiff and a bit shiny, then they're good candidates for boiling them, and that will soften up the rubber and make it shrink and increase the elasticity. It should be good for a while. I say we did it for years. I've been doing this trick on my own decks for many years, and that they do last a long time. That's if you get the belts before the belts have deteriorated. If you got one that the belt is falling off it, it's, you know, all melting, well, no, it's not going to do anything for it. If you've got a deck that's got a real rubber belt, no, because rubber deteriorates. Rubber will disintegrate, right? It'll oxidize and it'll just disintegrate. But the neoprene or the other synthetic belts generally don't melt like the real rubber belts do. They just get slippery and get a bit loose, so they're good candidates for doing this trick on. As I say, I learned this trick from an engineer that was at the TV station that I was working at as an intern back in I guess it was 79, 80, 81. I did an internship at a TV station and worked there on staff for a while. But I learned a lot of tricks from the engineer, and I used to piss him off, I think, because I used to hang around and watch what he was doing. And I'd ask him what he was doing, and he was really quite secretive. He did not like to share anything. And he would say, I'd say, what's wrong with it? Oh, it's broken. Yeah, well, what's wrong with it? It's broken. And, it was hard to learn anything from the man because he was very good, but he was very secretive of his work and very protective of his work. But I would see what he was doing, and I caught him once doing this, boiling a belt. I said, what are you doing? What are you boiling the belt for? And he says, well, I don't have one. And he says, this will make it work for a while. And of course, that while turned into months and months because the machines were in use all the time, right? And we were using them on the air for our public service announcements. And, they were constantly in use. So they didn't get the maintenance that, they did when they broke. But they say a lot of times, if he didn't have the part, he would just do it. So I learned it years ago. I've done it for years. I haven't showed you guys it. I've only shown you actually on 2 decks. This is the second one I've actually admitted to doing it on, but I've done it a lot over the years, and it's always done the job if the belt's salvageable. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you again in the next one real soon.